Good morning, students. The next class that we are going to see is about the decline of medical autonomy. Okay, yesterday we saw about medical autonomy, that is the freedom in the medical field. We saw why there is freedom in the medical field, and today we are going to see how that freedom has decreased. Okay, we already saw that from 1980 up to 2000, or even from 1960s onwards up to 2000, the medical field had a lot of freedom because they were thought to be the people who decide on who is sick and who is not sick. Okay, so from the 1980s and actually from 2000 onwards, we have seen that medical sociologists have studied that the professional power that the doctors had, that has been reduced by many challenges. Okay, so the freedom and the power or the social control that the doctors had over patients and even over the society, that has decreased in the last 20 or 30 years. Okay, so we are going to see the reasons for this decline in the medical autonomy. Okay, so medical autonomy, again let me say, is the professional power and authority, and we can say even a form of social control over the patients and the society. Okay, but these days medical profession has become just like any other profession. The power and the fame that the medical profession had in the early century has decreased. So let us see what are the reasons for this decrease in medical autonomy. The first thing is the self-aware public. So in the previous chapter we studied something called consumerism. So a patient is a consumer and the doctor is a service provider. So as a consumer, the patient has a lot of rights, and the government or the law itself tells that patients have rights. So even though a patient is sick, they are vulnerable, but they go to the doctor seeking a service, and as a service provider, the doctor has to follow certain guidelines and certain rules. So the patient themselves have more rights, and they can ask questions to the doctor. They can even ask for second opinion. That is, if one doctor tells that you have to undergo surgery, then the patient can tell, okay, I'll go to another doctor, find out whether he also feels the same. That means two doctors, when they tell the same thing, the patient can decide what treatment to take. Then the patients are also protected by consumer laws. So if the doctors are negligent or if they do malpractice, then the patient can take the doctor to the court. So that has reduced the doctors from being semi-gods to normal human beings who are service providers. So consumerism is the first reason for decline of medical autonomy. The next is the rise of managerialism. We already saw in the previous chapter about managers and managerialism. That means administrators, that is people who have studied administration, they take over the control of the hospital. Previously, doctors were the ones who were in full control of the hospital. They decided both medically and administratively what is best for the hospital. But over a period of time, specialized administrators, especially medical administrators, have taken over the work of the hospital. So they administer, or they are the managers, and the doctors usually work under the managers. So that is one other reason for the decline in the autonomy of the doctors, because there are more people who are managing the hospital, and doctors are working only for salary in a particular hospital. Okay, the third reason for decline in medical autonomy is the dominance of pharmaceutical companies. So what is the dominance of pharmaceutical companies? There are medical companies like Sun Pharma or Glenmark or Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. So these are companies which produce medicines. So what they do, they have a lot of money because they make a lot of profits. So they have more control over the doctors, and the doctors decide the medicines based on the pharmaceutical companies' their wishes sometimes. See, there are different medicines of the same kind produced by pharmaceutical companies. Some are less expensive, some are very expensive. So the doctor decides which medicine to give. It will be the right medicine, but the type of medicine is based on the pharmaceutical company's decision. So that has also reduced the dominance or the uh, autonomy of the medical profession. Then the regulations or the laws, many countries have laws on how doctors have to behave. One thing is the professional body itself, like the Indian Medical Council or the Indian Medical Association or the Medical Council of India, as well as the Government of India. All of them have regulations on how a medical professional needs to work. So these laws have to be followed by the doctors. So they are not free to decide what to do whenever they do. So because they have to follow rules and regulations, their importance has reduced. So this is another reason for the decline in autonomy of doctors. Next is the change in the patient-doctor relationship. We studied in the previous section about the three types of patient-doctor relationship. One is the active-passive model, but the third one was the mutual model. That is, both the doctor and the patient decide on the best course of treatment for the patients. This is called the mutual participation model, and patients have more say in their treatment. So this has reduced the medical autonomy. The next reason why the medical autonomy is decreased because of the development of other healthcare professions. 100 years back, there was only doctors, and then they became specialized. They became, from MBBS doctors, they became orthopedic doctors, then pediatric doctors, ophthalmologists, and then they became super specialists, cardiac surgery, neurosurgery, nephrologist. So like that, for each part of the body there is a specialized doctor. Other than that, there are a lot of other professions which have developed. Nursing profession was already there from 200 years back, but professions like pharmacy, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, medical sociology, prosthetics and orthotics, like that, lab technicians. There are different professions. Even technical level, there are anesthesia technicians, there are nephro technicians, cardiac anesthesia technicians, cardiac catheterization technicians. So there are so many technicians. Each person has a specific role to play. So because of this diverse occupation, the doctor's role has decreased to an extent, and there are other people to do certain jobs. So this has reduced the dominance of the doctors in the medical profession. Then the next reason for decline in medical autonomy is the media coverage of medical malpractice. One example is one Shipman case in UK, where one general practitioner murdered a lot of elderly patients by giving wrong medicines which will kill them. So these kind of negative publicity about the doctors has reduced the doctors' stature in the minds of the people. So this has also been a reason for decline in medical autonomy. Then the last reason is increased computerization and specialization, diversification of profession. For example, there is a lot of computer involved in today's diagnosis. If you see MRI, CT, ultrasound, even lab tests, there are a lot of technical things involved, and many computers are used. So that this becomes, if you want to check your blood sugar, you don't need to go to a doctor. You can go to a lab and test your blood, or even at home you can do a lot of tests. And the use of machines and devices has reduced the importance of doctors. So this is another reason for the decline in medical autonomy. So these are the common reasons for decline in medical autonomy. Okay. So the next topic in your syllabus is medical pluralism. So what is medical pluralism? So medical pluralism means, plural means multiple. Okay. So pluralism means employment of more than one medical system. Like for example, which is the common medical system? In India we call it the allopathic medical system, or the English medical system or the regular medicine, a person who studied MBBS and then practices medicine, that is the biomedicine or the regular medical system. But when a patient uses more medical systems, like if they use Unani, homeopathy, Chinese medicine like acupuncture or acupressure or yoga, so these are called alternate medicines or complementary medicines. Sometimes they are called as traditional medicines. So when these types of medicines are also used by the people, then it is called medical pluralism. So these days, even the government of India, if you see, the government promotes yoga, which is one type of medicine. The government promotes Ayurveda, which is one type of medicine. So the government of India itself is promoting medical pluralism. So that is what medical pluralism. When a patient uses more than one system of medicine, it's called medical pluralism. So let us see why it is used. Generally the treatment of a disease varies from society to society. For example, if you have a stroke, that is because of a clot in the brain. Okay, but some people say, traditional medicine, they say if you kill a pigeon and eat and drink the blood, it reduces the size of the clot. And a lot of people follow that because they think the clot is formed by the coolness of the body, and the heat of the pigeon's blood will break down the clot in your brain. So that is one thought that public have. Similarly, we call soodu pudichirchi, that is when there is too much heat because of the climate, you do not drink water, then you become dehydrated. But in Tamil Nadu, that is called soodu pudichirchi, and people use oil to put on the stomach to relieve that. But actually it can be relieved by drinking a lot of water and sugar salt solution, things like that. So each disease and its treatment varies from society to society based on the culture. Okay, and it also depends on the society, historical factors, economic factors, whether the patient has money to go to a doctor or he has money only to go to a traditional doctor. So all these factors decide how a patient gets that disease treated. Okay, so in India, for example, the doctors are all concentrated in the cities, and villages have very few doctors, and even the doctors who are there in villages are not specialized doctors. So patients find that the maldistribution of biomedical services, that is doctors, are not distributed equally all over the city or all over the villages, all over the country. So that makes it difficult for patients to go to the doctors. Also, there are too many doctors, like there is a MBBS doctor, there is an orthopedician, pediatrician, there is a nephrologist, gastroenterologist. So suppose a child who has fallen down and has injured the head and has a fracture in the hand, so the patient does not know whether to take the child to the pediatrician or the orthopedician or the neurologist. So there is a lot of confusion. So this kind of excess qualification and a lot of medical services, that makes it difficult for patients to decide who to go, especially in rural areas. Okay, so that is why they go to the traditional healers or the people who do traditional medicine or alternate complementary medicine. Okay, so let us see what are the common causes of medical pluralism. The first thing is the availability of traditional healers. So these traditional healers or homeopathy doctors, Siddha doctors, they are available all over the city, in all over the villages, all over the country. So people find it easy to go to them, and there are very few doctors. So when a person is sick, they are taken easily to the traditional healers. Then the cost of treatment, usually the traditional medicine person or the alternative medicine person, they charge less than a normal hospital. So a lot of people take their family members to those traditional healers first. Only if they are not cured, then they take them to the medical doctor. So the cost plays a major role. Then the visibility of the traditional healers, it's easy and convenient. They are available all through the villages, and the convenience of going to them. If you go to a medical hospital, you have to do a registration, then you have to make a chart, you have to wait for the doctor's consultation, then you have to go for diagnostic procedures like x-ray, then take the report back to the doctor. So it is a lot of work. Whereas if you go to a traditional healer, they just give medicines after just checking your pulse or checking something. Okay, so it's easy for people, convenient for people, so they go for traditional healers. And then the cultural belief on alternate medicine. A lot of people believe in traditional medicine, so this has been passed on from generations to generations and culture to culture. So the English medicine or the regular biomedicine has been there only for some 100 years, whereas this cultural traditional medicine has been there for many years. So people prefer to go to these type of medicines. So let us see the type of medical pluralism. What are the different types of medical pluralism? There are three types. One is interpenetrative pluralism. That is, interpenetrative means one over the other or one into the other. Okay, so traditional medicine as well as biomedicine, they are equally given powers, especially in China. China is one country where traditionally lot of medicine was practiced, acupuncture, acupressure, just like India. Okay, so the Chinese system of medicine is given a lot of power, so they can practice equally just like the biomedical or the regular medical people. That is interpenetrative pluralism. The second one is the exclusionary pluralism, where the traditional medicine and biomedicine are both independent and equal to each other. Okay, and they have their own system of medicine and they can follow their treatment for any patients. The same thing is being followed in India. We have exclusionary pluralism, and that is how this is functioned. Okay, so they do not mix with each other, but they practice independent of each other. Then the third one is the subjugatory pluralism. This is mainly practiced in Japan. Okay, here both traditional medicine and biomedicine is allowed, but the fact is the traditional medicine is usually dependent on the biomedicine, or it is under the biomedicine. So the medical doctor is the one who decides whether a patient goes to a traditional healer. So it is subjugatory. Subjugatory means under. So one type of medicine is under the other type. Okay, so again I will say interpenetrative means both together. So one person can take both, whether it is the alternate medicine or the regular biomedicine. Exclusionary means one is independent of the other and the patient can take any one. Okay, and subjugatory means one is under the other. The traditional medicine is under the biomedicine. Okay, so let us see what is the relationship in India. In India, for example, both are parallel, that is both are available and they are not mixed. One is independent of the other. If you go to a Ayurvedic doctor, you can get treatment there. If you go to a medical doctor, you can get treatment there. So it is up to you where you go. They run parallelly. Okay, and another thing in India is the medical person and the non-medical person will not work together. The alternate medicine like yoga, siddha, we do not find that medical doctors prescribe exercises like yoga for treatment. Very rarely they do. So they do not work together. They do independent practice. So that is the other thing. Finally, we see that there is a lot of economic difference between the traditional medicine and the medical personnel. We see that medical personnel are more rich and they get more fees from the patients, whereas traditional healers, they charge very less, except very few traditional healers. Okay, mostly they charge very less. So this is the economic disparity between the traditional healers and biomedical professionals. So what are the different systems of medicine available in India? Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha and Homeopathy. Okay, so these were called the Indian systems of medicine under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare till 2003. And after 2003, the Department of Ayush was established. Ayush means Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha and Homeopathy. Even in the MGR Medical University, you have the regular medical doctors and you have a department of Ayush. So there are medical colleges for Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha and Homeopathy, and they also study medicine, and they have a separate field of medicine for treating patients. So that is about pluralism, medical pluralism. We have two more subjects, two more topics: emotional labor and informal care, and these are the last two topics of the 5th chapter. We'll see these in the next class. Thank you.